Then, who are we? So we're three Agile coaches from different companies. So it's Shiva, Manuel, and me. And yeah, what is actually the Agile Breakfast? So we started this like almost 2 years ago, I think. And it was a small initiative at Flixbus where we said, hey, how can we spread the Agile mindset and our topics that we know a little bit better? And we said, hey, why not like giving like a small breakfast session in the morning? And so this is not a training, but we just want to like share like ideas or something useful that we learned or that we experienced or that we got from other people and want to make you hungry for more. And yeah, of course, we also like do a little bit of consulting. So if you want to work together with us, just contact us at agilebyexperience.com, and we're always happy to exchange ideas and see like how we can work together. Then we're really happy and lucky to have a guest speaker today, and it's Alexander Tagiev. So welcome. And yeah, who is Alex? He's a user experience designer at Flixbus. He has over 8 years of experience of building like products that people use and love. And yeah, we're really happy to have him today. And I would say thanks a lot for being here, and over to you. The stage is yours, Alex.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do that. Never done something like that before. So if something goes wrong, please bear with me. So let's jump to the slides. All right, here we go. So as already Sam said, my name is Alex, but also since originally I was born in Russia, and every Alexander in Russia is also called Sasha. So feel free to also call me Sasha. And yeah, my background, I started over years ago as a classical UI or like visual designer, then grew over the time into a UX designer role, because I realized that making things beautiful doesn't only work out. So it's also, I decided to also focus on how things work. And here I am. So our today's topic is the user experience design's secret to getting rich. Sounds bold. To be honest, I generated this title over this clickbait generator. I just typed user experience and picked the right title. In my opinion, this works actually pretty well, because user experience is really the secret to getting rich, and I will explain you why. And so this one, just also so you understand, this is not a lecture, please.
Ich habe sozusagen.
We hear somebody talking. Is that intentionally or unintentionally?
I don't know, probably.
Thanks.
Never mind. So basically, the idea of this session that it is not a lecture. This is not a one-way show. It's an interactive discussion. And in order to join this interactive discussion, we are using this slider tool. It's basically where you can pull out your mobile, scan this QR code, or go directly to slido.com, type in the number of this meeting, and then here we will have there some polls, some discussions, and then you can also ask some questions. So feel free to open it up, because the next slide is actually a survey. And I would like to know, what is your occupation and what is your job? So then I will start this one.
Also ich habe kein Schwarztee mehr, aber ich habe von Anna so eine Packung.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute Eva. Oh, here we go. We have a product owner. Yeah, business dev manager, people partner, trainer, operations, revenue manager, business owner. This is a good one. Scrum master. It's getting there. It's working. UX engineer. This is, okay, this is a great mix, authorization manager. So I see that there are also some people who are not in tech, is it correct? Manager, e-learning, business dev manager, tech recruiter, okay.
Yeah, there's a nice mix up of
Yeah.
topics here, right?
Yeah, I really love it. Really love it. Okay, this is some good insights to also know whom we're talking with. Great. So product manager, product owner sounds like it's a popular one. All right, and now the question is, now this is your occupation. But my next question would be, do you consider yourself as a designer? I can start the second pool. And now you can just say, no. Let's see how I've got. Okay, okay. No, I'm not. Okay, sounds like the majority doesn't consider themselves as a designer. Actually, that's very pity. It's very sad to hear, because let me jump back to the slides. So how many? Oh, 23 participants. Okay, that's a good participation rate. So, and actually, in my opinion, everybody is a designer. And you might think like, okay, Alex, what the hell are you talking about? Like, how, I'm not a designer, I'm a product owner. I don't know, I'm a trainer, I'm somebody else. But let me maybe explain this and make it clear. So first of all, for me, a designer is not somebody who's making stuff beautiful and put some color on it, and then you have a great product. No, for me, a designer is actually who thinks about the whole experience, so about the whole product. And unfortunately, nowadays, this designer is always associated with, okay, it's making something beautiful. So make it look like, yeah, make the design pop, or make the logo bigger, like all these topics. But in actually, the whole product is also about how it works and the user experience. So the user is experiencing the whole product. And actually also with whole product, I mean also with the word product, I mean also not something physical, but it could be also a service. Yeah. Manuel, I remember you had a...
Yes, and I was thinking, and now I have something else that we didn't mention in our previous private conversations when preparing this, that I was also thinking about just now when you are talking. Two things, because one that I was sharing with you is I was working, remembering that I was working with a team, and we are advertising a position, and we are not getting many candidates. And then I go to the website to check the position and see how it looks, and I try to apply myself, and it's so complex. And I go to HR people and say, listen, this is so difficult. I mean, I can understand why people don't want to apply. You need to type everything. It's the 21st century. This should be much more easier. And the answer was quite shocking, because they say something like, well, if they want to work with us, they need to make the effort. Something like, you know, if they want to work with us, they should go to their knees and beg, you know, and if it's difficult, better, because it shows they are making a big effort to work with us. And I was like, oh, need to check the calendar. What year are we, right? And that's also, you know, I thought, well, that's also a big part of it. And when you were talking right now, I was thinking also internally, don't you think sometimes we are not making an effort to make things more, the experience better? I think that everybody can relate when you have a business trip or something. you need to print all the invoices, you need to fill in forms, you need to, to do all this paperwork as if we were in 1940. And then you say, well, that experience also for the internal user, for the colleague, should be better, and no one usually is thinking about that, right?
Yeah, completely agree. So we should definitely have the mindset that we should make lives, like people's life easier. And especially, I mean, again, referring to your example, Manuel, that, I mean, if the applicant cannot apply, this implies that you have at the end less applicants, right? And then you have less of a choice to choose from, right? And then basically your business is suffering.
So, you don't get the talent that you wanted, right? Exactly.
And this is something really that really needs to, the mindset should definitely change. And we will talk today about like this, the correct mindset. And so back to our basically hypothesis, let's call it like this, that everybody is designer. So if you can relate to that sentence, I want to create a product service with great experiences and solve problems of my users / customers, then congratulations, you are a designer. And maybe to quickly even ask it in the room, so feel free to just raise your voice. This is an experiment. Let's see how it goes. Is there somebody who thinks, no, I'm still, after after we talked about it, you think, no, I'm still not a designer? Is there somebody in the room? Just a background, the guys told me, oh, nobody's speaking up. So guys, please prove that it's wrong.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a designer.
Okay, then shoot, why?
So I'm in HR, responsible for a career page.
Okay.
So, and I'm not a designer. However, I try to put myself in the shoes of our candidates and to make their application journey more smooth, so they can apply easily, so they don't have a hard time, obviously, applying. But I'm seeing the comment here. Yeah, yes, I am trying to design the HR experience as well, but yeah, still wouldn't consider myself a designer per se.
Okay, but would you consider, like, so, but you still say that you design the process or something like that, right?
Yes, so, that I do, I guess.
Okay, so we can align on that. You're not a designer, but you design something.
Yes.
Okay, that's a deal. Awesome.
I'm pretty close, I would say, right?
Yeah, let's call it 50%. All right. So now you're a designer, but now the question is, and thank you, Elise, for speaking up and breaking all the myths about nobody speaking up. But then the question is, okay, we figured out that you design something, or maybe you're a designer, but are you a good designer? Because product development with bad design, this is how actually it always looks like. So someone has an idea for a new product, a feature, a service, and then you immediately sit down and develop that together with maybe even like somebody you design, you write something, and you spend some time on that in order to ship it, to build it, and then you release the product and hope that, oh yes, this, and you're also convinced that this is the best idea you ever heard and you ever had. And then you release the product and people actually don't want it, because at the end, the user wanted this. And this is very, like, this is in my practice, very common path, which teams and product teams take. And at the end, the team is sad because, hey, who wants to build a shitty product? I mean, tell me, show me this person, or even this developer who wants to invest his time and build something that it doesn't use. And also in the end, you also waste your resources and money and time. And there are actually plenty of different examples out there of like where it really failed. So for example, Juicero. This is a cold press juicer, which is connected to Wi-Fi. I mean, already the connection to Wi-Fi is questionable, but it's a device which stands, the idea of that, it should stand in your kitchen, and it makes juice by squeezing packs out of cut up fruits and vegetables. So you buy this cartridges or like this things here, you place them in, and then it presses out the juice. So this startup raised 120 million from investors, and the price for this device is $400. But at their end, actually, I mean, in order to get the juice out of this, you didn't need a device. You could just use your hands out of that. And they designed also a very complicated process how to make sure that you can also buy these juices only after you have this device at your home. So this is also the reason why it's connected to Wi-Fi. And there are a lot of very strange decisions up there. And of course, in their end, this product failed. And we, as humans, always we come up with some solutions, but at the end, it's not used the way how you thought it would be. So it's actually very important to really test your hypothesis, test your ideas. And I will talk to you also later how to also mitigate that. So how does product development good design work? Basically, someone has an idea, a new product, and before implementing it, before spending money, before investing time, you should talk to the user. You should validate your ideas. And then afterwards, you can build it, and the idea in the end, you basically release what users actually want and need. Your team is happy, and you're rich. You saved money, you earned also money because you built something that people are ready to pay for, and you're good. So user experience, maybe to make the link to the topic of Agile. User experience design is like Agile, but on steroids. So the idea behind Agile is also risk mitigation, right? We don't have projects which run a year. We run small sprints, like, okay, a week, 2 weeks. And then afterwards we see, does it work? So the same with proper UX. It's also risk mitigation. So before you even invest time and money into development, you can easily validate that. So proper UX is make sure we are solving the right problem. Proper UX is for the right people, for the right business reasons, design solutions that are validated so that we build the right solution for the right problem and the right people. And of course, at the end, the customers and users are satisfied, and we get to keep our jobs and be successful and basically the business rich. But now, I mean, it looks very easy, right? Oh, let's go out, talk to the user, test it. But actually, it's not about only this. The question is, it's, as we already said with talked with Manuel, it's actually about the right mindset. And in my opinion, there are two top principles which makes you a better designer and which really puts you in correct frame in order to be successful. And these are the three. There are furthermore, you can investigate later, but in my opinion, these are the three most important things. So first one, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Second, fake it until you make it. Third, show, don't tell. I will go step by step and jump into each of this. So let's start with the first one. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. There is a quote by Henry Ford. It's quite, I would say, controversial. So he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And in that terms, Henry Ford was right. You should definitely never blindly build what your user is asking for. And this is a common mistake that I see. So there is a feedback form out. There is an idea coming in, and then you immediately jump on, oh, yes, it's a great idea. Let's build it. But actually, customer feedback is basically not about just purely implementing what the user is saying. It just should inform your product. So you're not going to know whether this solution really solve a problem until you identify the problem itself. So
don't you think, Alex, that at least or your experience, right? What you've seen, but at least here, Henry, ask people, and sometimes we see that teams or people already know without even asking what do you need, right? So they start building what they think that people know. Went one step forward and say, okay, I'm going to ask them, and then you are telling us, okay, that's not enough, we need another step more, right? But quite common, people already know and they already made up their minds.
Yes, exactly. And this is also like one of the mindsets that you should really try to block, like really, because I have an idea, and directly sticking to this idea is the most common thing of our brains, because we want solutions fast, right? And actually, you always need to step back. I completely agree with you, Manuel. So you should really think about what are you trying to solve, and how could Henry Ford could have done the research for that problem, right? I mean, he could have asked the user, the customer, what do you want? And yes, you will get the answer, faster horses, and that's all completely fine. But then you need to dig deeper. You need to ask why. Okay, can you tell me why you need a faster horse? And then the customer most probably would say, yeah, because I need to get from point A to B quicker, and that's it. So, and then probably, again, hypothetical dialogue, then probably Henry Ford understood, oh, okay, so it's not about the horse, it's about the traveling time. I mean, it sounds very trivial, but in most use cases, people don't do this step. And Manuel, I remember you had an example, a real life example with some dashboards, I remember.
Yes, for a moment I forgot, but now I remember when you say dashboard. Yeah, because one of the teams were in a sort of similar situation, right? And I remember some business people come to the team saying, guys, we really need this dashboard, we need to show this information, and they were helping us already, drawing some sketches, and this is what we need, and then the team was thinking, okay, this is going to take a couple of months already. One of the developers or the product owner, people started to ask, okay, why do you need this? And what's the use? And what's going to happen after you have it? And tell us. And then at the end, we realized that they just need the dashboard because they were planning to export, or one of the requirements was to export the information in this dashboard to an Excel file that at the end needs to be attached to an email and sent to a third party, to another company that needed this information. So instead of doing this huge project, one of the guys says, okay, I can quickly make a process that creates the text file with all the information and send you an email, or have an automated email sent to you every week with the right information. You just need to forward the email, and that's it. No need to go to any dashboard or anything, right? And it was also interesting because people requesting, they were trying to help somehow, right? And they were trying to tell us what they really needed. They were doing their best to help us. And then through this conversation and asking and trying to go deeper, we found out that this automated process was fast and good enough. And in a couple of mornings, they did it, and they got what they needed faster and easier, more economical for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good example. Sometimes I think, though, it's also about what people don't know what they want. like if you think about the car, like because from the Henry Ford example, people also want to like go from A to B like with great safety, right? But they're not like, hey, I want to wear a safety belt, right? But it's in their mind of saying, hey, of course, if I use a car, I don't want to die on the road there, right? So sometimes it's also about like trying to find out what people are not aware of what they want, but then knowing, what about security? Like, is it okay if you get there with one arm less? Like they're like, no, of course not, because like that's something that they take as granted, as default. And then you're like, yeah, but back in the days, there were no seat belts in the car, right? I mean, it was quite dangerous, actually. So over time, you need to, like find out what actually is a baseline of like expectations that people have, but you're not aware of.
And also, I'm thinking like having new technologies and new innovations. Sometimes people don't even know that they are available, right? Because I remember when in this example, they were quite shocked that we could do an automated email that is sent without anybody touching anything, right? And they say, oh, yeah, we never thought about that because we didn't even know it's possible, you know? And it was also our role to go a step back, understand the problem and say, okay, there are other options and it's fair if you don't know them because we are here to show you, right? This is more about technology, right? Not for every, let's say, role, but that also was important because we help them see there are other options, right?
Yeah, completely agree. And what I also like is what you said, and I think it's very important that again, the user is jumping on one idea and is really fixated on that. So it's really like focused on this one and doesn't consider anything else. And this step going backwards and asking the why, and here is, for example, one method to say, okay, to ask even 5 whys, to really go down deep to understand what are the real problem and what could be the reason for that, for the problem, is really to lay it out down and say, okay, this is this, and then because of this, you have this. And then at the end, once you laid it out down, it could be even more complex. It could be not just linear. It could be like, could be a tree of different hypotheses why the problem appears. And at the end, for each, once you basically, decluttered or analyze the problem, you generate then ideas how to solve this specific step. So and it's also important to generate really a lot of ideas, not only one. So you really open up and see the whole picture of it. So for example, for alarm clock broke, okay, idea, why not can we make the alarm clock more reliable? Or how can we, like maybe idea, can we make the clock, the alarm clock, I don't know, beep when it's not working, or inform you that it's not working. Didn't check if it's worked, so forgot to do it last night. Do we have a backup plan? Woke up late. What about maybe changing my rhythm that maybe I don't even an alarm clock? So really open up for different possibilities, and in the end you have all the list of ideas, and then you take the most promising one and then test them if they would work. And this is also here. We're also on the second principle of getting the right mindset is actually how to test it, because then you say, oh, let's make the clock more reliable, for example. Now, like it's hypothetical one, but then you spend a lot of, you probably sit down and with your developers try to make it more reliable, and so on and so on and so on. But actually, you should always validate your idea before implementing. So, and for that, it's definitely, you can use, for example, a prototype. There is a very famous quote from IDEO, it's a consultancy, a design thinking consultancy. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a prototype is worth of 100,000 meetings. And with prototype, I mean really faking the experience, faking your idea, so the customer thinks that it's real. A fun example here. I mean, obviously it's coming from a comedy show, but the mindset of that is really fake it until you make it, see how people interact, and then you can build on top of that and learn really fast. I have also a personal example. As we moved with my wife to the new flat, we had a dilemma. We didn't know how to isolate this shower to make this shower wall, because you see here on the left top there is this strange kind of corner which makes it a bit difficult. And we discussed with my wife, okay, should we do a curtain? Should we do a glass? What should we do? We wanted the glass, but we didn't know would it work. Basically, what I did was very simple. I just cut out cardboard, put some foil on the other side, and we tested it. Would it work? Would it clash with the door? Would it work? Would it what are the downsides? First thing that I also already saw, like, okay, it did clash with the window, and we also realized that then you have this hole here which will get always wet, and you will get like all this I don't know, the fungi, the wet fungi over there. And this was a quick validation, and at the end we ended up with just a basic curtain. Very simple. And there are also some other methods how to fake and validate. So you can create digital prototypes. There are many tools out there how you can do it. You can really fake a website nowadays with really simple, without even knowing how to code. You can, it's a bit more complex. You can run a fake door test. This is something that we at Flixbus sometimes do. For example, recently we tested a payment method. So we didn't know, okay, is this payment method really needed? So we just added a fake payment method onto the page and turned it on for 1 day, for a small percentage of the traffic, to see how many people would click on it, to understand what is the need for that payment method. Of course, we designed also a flow for that, to say, okay, sorry, this is not working. Please choose another one. Of course, you also have to think about how not to mess up the experience. But at the end of the day, we had some numbers. We understood, yes, it's a payment method that is needed, and then we built for that. Also, Amazon is doing something like this. Since Amazon, it's also like providing a service, and you cannot really test or like fake a service. What they're doing is sometimes they're mocking a press release. So they pretend that this service is already out there, and they show it to some users and get the feedback on. So say, oh, like, what do you think about this 24-hour delivery? What do you think about this idea? How's your reaction? So these are the some ways how you can fake something until you really invest some time and money into a feature. The third one and last one is actually show, don't tell. And the reason for that is, again, we always think we just ask the user and they will tell us what they think and we can just work with it. No, actually it's not. So here's an example of a really old usability study from 1960. It's the design, it's a usability study for the first push button telephone. So not the one that you have to turn, but really the one that you have to push. And they did some surveys and asked multiple questions, and also measured how fast did they use this the buttons. And it turned out that if they would have asked the users and really go for that, this is the layout that we would have today. So this was the preferred one that they say, oh yeah, I like this layout. But actually, in terms of numbers, this was the fastest. And this is actually the one that we have nowadays on all our phones. And now imagine if they wouldn't do this this survey back then, or do this research. How much time would have been wasted over all the trillion use cases at times that people use that? So really focus on, like try to observe and put the user in front of the situation and then observe. So for example, there is a video. Let me double check if you will hear it. Can I can share the microphone, right? How would it work?
Yeah, we can try that.
Okay, let's try and tell me if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
No.
No, I don't think we hear it.
Okay, never mind. Maybe then I can just comment on it. So I just let it, I guess. So you see here is this product where for the children, where they have to put the right, brick into the right hole. And this is actually classical. I mean, of course it's a comedy, but this is a classical also situation that we see in usability tests and everything that we show to our users. We created the design, show it to the users, and just observe. We give them the task to say, okay, now do this. And this is, of course, should be a real life example, real life use case. Do this, and then we just observe. How do they do it? And for example, at the end, let's have a look. So the circle, the thin rectangle goes into, oh no, in the square hole. Okay, let's see. What about the cylinder? Where should it go? Where should it go? Oh, the square hole. The semicircle, where should it go? I love her reaction. This is also the reaction that I also always have when we test something. Everything goes into a square hole. Where does the arch go? Yes, it goes in the square hole. So basically, this is a real life feeling how you might feel when you really present something to the user. All right. So as a summary, so we talked about 3 principles, and to have it laid out all in front of us. The first one, again, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. So ask why until you know the root of the problem. Generate a lot of ideas, not just one. And then afterwards, find the most promising one and validate them. How to validate them? Fake it until you make it. So find a creative way how to fake an experience. Then validate your idea before you, validate before you implement it. And how do you validate it? You show it and don't tell. You really try to put it in front of the customer, in front of the user, and observe, really shut up, observe, and listen how they interact. This is the best way to get the best feedback out there. Before jumping on to some book recommendation and questions session, do you have any comments on that?
I have a story to share. I think around 5 years ago, I was working with a startup, and there we introduced them to this whole way of, user first, user centric, talk to your users. It was an app just like WhatsApp. They wanted to do a chat app, and then the product owner was very passionate about some features. So then when he said, okay, we need to really talk to the users, what they did was they set up user interviews with the users. And what they used to do is basically go to the user and say, okay, I have this great idea. Will you like it if you see it in the app? And obviously he they did this to like 200 users, and then they got the answer saying, yes, yeah, we would love it. And then they had this hypothesis saying, okay, great. I have asked the users says they would love it. So let me build it. They built it, and then they found out that nobody's actually using it. That goes really into the show and don't tell. And I think you learn it the hard way that, yeah, you could use all of it, but if you don't use it with the right mindset of actually understanding the users, but just using all of this to validate what you think is a brilliant idea, there's a very good chance that you're going to end up failing. So that was a great learning experience for me as well, because I was there in the user interviews, and here was this product owner really telling people his brilliant ideas, and they were like being so excited about it. And then the product failed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking is fall in love with the problem that the user is having, not the solution, right? Because also that's something that sometimes you see, especially when it's some, let's say, internal service, right? I've seen a company that is promoting, let's say, a benefit, which is a car that you can use. It's a company car. So if you want to go weekend to the mountains, you should take the car, right? And the process to book the car and to rent the car is so damn complex that no one is actually renting. Everybody would love to have the car available and to use it. The process is so complex. And then speaking with the people in charge of this, they say, yeah, but you know, I need to take care of insurance and I need to solve my problems. And I was saying, yeah, but what about your user problem? What about the people who need to rent the car? You know, it's like you don't solve your only, if you want, your internal problems, your legal problems when renting the car, but also make sure that the person who wants to rent the car has a nice experience, so they can actually do it. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100% with that.
That also goes to show that, a product fails for more reasons than we know.
Yeah.
For example, in your experience, I guess they run it for some time and they say nobody's renting the car, so probably it's not a great benefit for them. But the problem seems to be that not with what you offer, but about how difficult the whole process is.
Yeah, how you offer it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think there are also a lot of problems out there which aren't solved because there is no pressure. I mean, if I think, for example, about the Munich public transportation, and if you go to the Munich airport, you see people looking and trying to understand how the system works and which ticket to buy, and they're always confused. They have no idea because it's so stupid and complex, and then you have rings and zones and whatever you have, right? You're like, oh my God. But the point is, as there's no competitor, like real competitor, of course, there's no pressure. And then people have to deal with this shitty user experience, right? So it's also about the circumstances saying, hey, yeah, if you're like the only one there, then your product experience can be shitty and people would still use it. And that is actually also a question I would have to you, Alex. Do you have like an idea or some knowledge about like why people like create shitty products, or like why they don't ask their users? Because like, I don't know, but as the Munich like public transportation owner, I would say, oh my God, all my users have such a shitty experience. Like, we should change that.
Yeah, I guess there are multiple reasons, but my assumption, the first one is that I guess in this big company, you're always looking at, like, okay, these are all the different use cases. Some people travel one time, some people multiple times, and they they really probably sit down and try to make everybody happy. And this is my assumption why it's so complex, because you have such a big user base with different needs, and you're trying to really serve them. but sometimes the simplest solution is just which you know, like which maybe like where you have just three tariffs is really the best one. So you really strip it down to the simplest, which does work. So my guess is that just sometimes you overthink something, you make things too complex, with the mind that actually, yes, I thought it through. I covered all the edge cases, and this is the great product. And again, we're coming back to this, that you think that your idea, that your solution that you came up with is the best. And this is also one of the bias that I see very, very often, to say that, I mean, I'm pretty sure you also have some political debates, some discussions with colleagues. No, we take my idea. No, we take this idea, and everybody's fighting for the idea instead, again, focusing on the problem. Because as soon as you fall in love with the problem, you generate a lot of ideas and really will try to solve this.
Totally. And one more question there, Alex. I was also thinking that, you know, what Sam said, if you really don't have any kind of competition, do you still see people using UX? Because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care. They don't have a choice, so they come to me. So why should I really bother about their user experience? If there's some competition, that's when I really need to worry about. Do you see that a lot also?
Yeah, and probably this is also the reason why the B2B products are still right now like a bit, let's call it shitty. And the B2C that we have right now, all the Apples, Androids, where you have like a big market and also big competition, why also the UX there is much better. So the competition is definitely the main driver for that. And I do see that, yes, the competition is one of the reasons for investing in UX.
Okay. Right. I know we have like 10 minutes, so probably time to get some questions from our audience.
Yeah.
If there are any.
So maybe before you can go into the Slido, and let me, I guess in the Slido you can already have a, oh, okay. So we already have some questions, so feel free to use this one. And meanwhile, while you're typing it, I would like to recommend some books if you're interested in this topic. It's going from left to right. Left is very for beginners. Right is already on the right is already getting more into the detail. And like if you're really interested in the whole design user experience topic, I recommend those two books. These are the Bibles, let's call it, of UX. Here, this book is the 100 Things Every Designer Needs to Know About People, is focusing on how do users perceive the world and what kind of biases and hacks, like how do people perceive the world. And those two are rather for the sprint, is also a great one where you can really in 5 days create a product, test it in the team. It's a great method. It's a great recipe, which you can just follow step by step without knowing all the background of design and design thinking. You just follow step by step, and in the end, you have a good product. And this is how you discover all the issues and really have a continuous discovery habits, how you always like really talk to the users and create a map of all your opportunities and problems and really work over time with it. So
comment here, Teresa Torres also has really great speeches on YouTube, or I think even a TED Talk. So yeah, really cool person.
Yes, definitely recommend her. All right, now let's go back to questions. Our latest question: should one only come up with solutions for the root of the problem, or does solving a problem not at the root also work? Yes, definitely. It's not always the root of problem, because if you ask the, like, I don't know, 10 times why, you basically end up at the, you know, this pyramid of Maslow, where you have the 5 basic needs. because, and if you really dig too deep, you end up there. And definitely, you don't have to go to the root to the root of the problem. You just try to find the one that works for you. And again, you have to weight the ideas in terms of, okay, how easy is it to implement, and what do you think would be the impact of that? Did it make sense, guys?
Yes, there's one more, I guess. How frequently should you test your prototypes?
Okay. This is a tricky question. Of course, I'm not a fan of "it depends" answer, but it depends. So usually you cannot, for example, even like a product like Flixbus, you cannot go out and say, okay, I want to test now the Flixbus booking funnel, and I do it once and then I know all the issues. In your test, you always focus on one specific hypothesis or one specific area that you want to explore. And if you have a complex product with all the different use cases and users, basically this means that you have to constantly test based on like really on a product based on your projects. And also in parallel, this is also coming back to Teresa Torres, what she's saying, you always have to talk to your users, because they will always give you the biggest pain point they have, or like will tell you what is the biggest pain point, what the biggest problem. And by talking constantly to the user, you will get more and more insights and also understand the priority of the problems. So how frequently, it depends, but the more, the better.
Okay, I guess we have time for one last question then.
Okay, maybe I can manage those two, since we can come up with multiple ideas and don't have time to test all ideas. How do we know which idea to test? Oh yeah, so actually I talked about it. So you lay out all the ideas, and there is a matrix. On the x-axis, you have the feasibility. So that means how easy is the idea to implement. And then on the y-axis, you have the impact. So the higher up you have, then the more impact the idea would have. And you usually focus on the one that is on the top right. No, sorry, on the left right. So which one has the highest impact and the easiest way to implement? There is a formula for answering. Okay, how to use this files wisely exactly? Okay, here we're going into probably way too deep. We won't have enough time to answer that. But there is a great article I can share later on, which actually gives a great example of how you do it. It might get really complex, but in my opinion, the best practice is just to really lay it out down, really have a like a big mind map of all the whys and how these problems relate to each other, so you have a better understanding.
Yeah. I was just thinking about exactly the same, because I did the exercise a couple of days ago with one of my teams, and we were going around and around trying to find a solution for a problem, and we just lay out the whole thing and asking why this is happening and why this is happening. And we ended with a sort of a tree, and we highlighted the biggest situations there and how to solve them, and was eye-opening for everybody. But the key was to be standing in front of a whiteboard and start drawing this tree, let's say. So that good, I could advise. I don't know if the person who who is asking, try that. But I would say just go in front of a whiteboard with colleagues and start writing and answering the whys and doing this sort of mind map or tree or whatever and see the problem. And that helped me a lot.
Yeah. Actually, it's also not about like the amount of whys. So sometimes you can find the root cause with like 3 or 4 whys. Sometimes you have to ask like 6 or 7 times why, right? So it really depends on the situation that you're in. But the deeper you go, or the more you ask, will make people really think about, hey, what was actually the real reason why this happened? So that's the actual point about it. And that's why they have those 5, because on average, you need like around 5 times until you get to the root cause. So yeah, keep asking.
Okay, it's almost 10 p.m. I guess we have no more time left, but we have a few seconds to say thank you for everybody joining, and thank you, Alex, for sharing this. Was amazing, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And also, we hope to see you next month.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you all for joining. And yeah, it was great to have you, Alex. So also thank you from my side. And yeah, let us know if there's anything you want us to prepare from the audience. And we're always happy to get your feedback, or if you have a problem that we might be able to help you with, stay in contact or keep contacting us. And yeah, we're always happy to be in contact with our customers or users.
Great. See you next month.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.